Something that might be true, but you don't want to hear it, is that ghosting says far more about the person who disappears than the person who gets ghosted. Listen up. I know when somebody suddenly vanishes from your life without explanation, the natural inclination is to turn inward and say, what did I do? Is there something wrong with me, right? Wasn't I enough, right? But today we're going to challenge that narrative. Come on inside. Take a listen. If you've been ghosted, you're not going to want to miss this one. Welcome to the Mindful Muslimah Speaks podcast, a safe space to learn and grow into the best version of yourself that you're always meant to be. I'm your host, Mindful Muslimah, a mom of 5, big sister to the community, and a licensed educator with 25 plus years and supporting tens of thousands of Muslim women worldwide. Now, I'm excited to share a ton of solutions to your problems on love, relationships, life balance, reconnecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting back on track, and more. So grab a cup of coffee and close out those tabs. These next 20 to 30 minutes are all about you. Let's get started. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Mindful Muslimah Speaks podcast. We have been on the road, and so I've been taking you with me, doing the podcast, continuing on. My family has also been traveling a bit internationally, alhamdulillah, but it is something where this is so important to me. I want to connect with you regularly. And alhamdulillah, today we're going to talk about a topic where women are experiencing this a lot, just getting cut off instantaneously and going, what in the world just happened? What did I do? And I don't care what any woman says, have that happen to you enough time, it's going to chip at your self-esteem. Even if you feel good about yourself, eventually you're like, what is the problem? Like, why is this happening to me? So let's dive right into how you can stop feeling horrible and figure this all out on what's actually happening in a situation like this. Now, based on when you're listening to this podcast, we have a course that only happens once or twice a year that is probably either just closed or closing. I'll put the link below. This is our most popular course of the year on how to find a spouse. We have tens of thousands of women go through this program. We help women get married all the time. If you're a woman who feels like there's no good guys out there, not true. And it's not true because we help women get married constantly. Sorry, we do. And so if you want to be a part of that too, check the link below, 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗏, and you'll have the step-by-step on how to fast track getting married in 2025. All right, that being said, let's talk about the psychology behind ghosting. I'm going to read the ayats of Quran for you. Oh, you who believe, why do you say what you do not do? Great is hatred in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you say what you don't do. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala references in the Quran that giving our word is really important. By the way, side note, I'm a real hater of ghosting. I think the person who ghosts is an absolute coward. And I say that 100% in confidence because I have had horrible situations where I have to answer people, but it's called suck it up, grow a backbone, and say something to the person. When you don't, because it's awkward or you don't want to hurt their feelings, it just says a lot more about you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. There was this one sister, she was pursuing this guy, and she was talking to me all about how, like, at first everything was really great, but then all of a sudden he started disappearing, not answering as much, her texts and so forth. Like, she had found him on an app, whatever. And alhamdulillah, things seemed like really they were going to get to the stage of possibly getting married. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, something happened. I don't think we're good for each other. Not really sure. He was just trying to drop hints, but he couldn't actually say. He was just basically expressing doubt. And then all of a sudden, he just really wouldn't answer her. Like, they would have certain times they normally would be able to speak, and totally different vibes. Something happened, right? We talked a lot about it, and we got down to the bottom of it, and I'm explaining to you right now the psychology of it. We realized it said a lot more about him than her. Here's what I mean. First, let's talk about convenience. In this day's digital age, you could just completely ignore someone, not have to approach them. That wasn't the same back in the day. I'm at age and date myself right here, but we didn't have cell phones when I was growing up. Yeah, didn't have it. So those came out later on, I don't know what it was, in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So people actually had to like go and confront somebody and deal with it. Now that people have the digital age and don't have to, it is so easy just to go someone and not have to deal with it. Now, what I will say is it speaks a lot to somebody's conflict avoidance. Yes, your conflict avoidance issues, your issues if you're the ghoster, their issues if they're the ghoster. Some people, they just have extreme, just conflict within themselves, or they just feel so uncomfortable to talk to someone about a difficult issue. I get it. I used to be the quietest people pleaser who hated hurting everyone's feelings, but that is a horrible life. And if you're currently living it, you know what I mean. It's all about making everyone else happy, and you yourself, you just kind of like have to deal with whatever you're trying to move through all the time. And you don't ever really get heard or your feelings expressed because you're too afraid to at a certain level. And then the last thing I'm going to say is ghosting kind of feels unsafe, right? I had this connection with you. We had stuff we spoke about. Like maybe I shared something personal and then all of a sudden you just like, boom. Like, you know, like you could see people read your messages and then they don't respond. Oh, that just irks my soul. I'm just like, ooh, that person really, really has bad manners. I'm just going to say it. And I'm going to say that with the understanding that I could be offending someone, but as a person who used to be a people pleaser and totally understands uncomfortability, it still is no excuse. It said a lot about me and my lack of confidence or my lack of ability to approach someone about something important. Now, alhamdulillah, since then, long time I've gotten over that, right? 10 to 15 years, I've learned, I moved on. But are you currently still doing that to people? Or when people do it to you, like guys on apps or that you meet or whatever, is that something you appreciate? So at the end of the day, ghosting is a real thing. That says a lot more about the psychology of the person ghosting. Now let's talk about some of the most common times people are ghosted. One is early stage ghosting, like right in the beginning. This is when someone disappears after like one connection, one interaction, whatever. You feel like, yep, they were going to get back to me. You got so excited over it. And all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. Another one is an intimate connection. Maybe you guys are like almost at the level of getting married. You guys are really, really pretty serious along in maybe even the first stages of marriage. And all of a sudden, it's just like out of nowhere, you feel like the carpet got ripped out from under you. And a lot of times this is really triggering for women, especially if you have like abandonment issues that you've already had, whether it's from your father or, you know, some other situation, you are instantly triggered. Now, I want to say, side note for women who are going through this, be really, really careful, because if you've experienced a couple of those, the more you go on into the marrying scene or the spouse finding scene, you're carrying those traumatical triggers and experiences with you. And a lot of times it then affects the next guy you talk to. You don't realize it, but I see it all the time. I sit with women, I talk to them. But at the same time, I've also spoken to women who have amazing situations where after we fix that, they come with such confidence. They can like swish guys out the way, or they can move forward with 100% like, oh, I know this is the one, because they have figured this stuff out. So the success of that is so incredible. But when you're in a position where you don't have that yet, whoop, you are so vulnerable. Now let's talk about what your reaction reveals. Let's pretend you're the person who's been ghosted. It says a lot about you and where you're at. Now, the first feeling I usually feel when I get ghosted is, wow, what just happened there? Ooh. And then I have to get curious and inquisitive. I try not to be judgmental, but a lot of times, like back in the day when I didn't have that ability, it would just feel painful, right? It was just like hurtful and not nice. But let's talk about something equally important, is not blaming the other person, not blaming yourself, trying to really understand what happened here. It's a lot more about self-awareness and growth than anything else. Maybe you're giving people too much power. It could stem from attachment issues or patterns you have formerly in your life. It could have to do with so much. It's just a really great time to take a look at what you're putting out there and ask yourself, am I giving up a little bit too much, too soon? Am I being too understanding, too easy about things? I don't know, but it's a really good time to connect with yourself on that. I work with this one sister, her name is, Ruqayya, and she was going through a lot of this. And honest truth, she was beautiful, she was smart, she was amazing, and then we couldn't figure out what it was. Well, she couldn't figure out what it was. Then we went and we talked about it. And alhamdulillah, we came down to the point where we realized she was diving in the wrong pool. And sometimes that's what it is. You're in the wrong pool, looking for the wrong set of guys that don't have the values that match you. And these guys were okay with conflict avoidance, which is not what she wanted. And it kept happening time and time again. And at first she was getting really angry, and she would send like angry texts, like, that's so messed up, like, we were talking, what's going on? And then she seemed like this. And that's only fueling their idea that this was a great thing to break off. You know what I mean? It makes us look a little bit not so put together. So it can be a great mirror to show you right now where your healing needs to happen for yourself and what you're allowing or not allowing people to do to you. Number 4, the closure myth. I know it feels like when someone has ghosted you after spending so much time invested in them, you need closure. You don't. I'm just going to say it, because first of all, a lot of people will not give you closure. So what does that mean? I'm just going to wait around to feel good for when they show up in my life? Absolutely not. You're not going to do that. Now, I completely empathize, because one of the most painful parts of ghosting is the lack of closure. Like, what in the world happened? We didn't even get to like talk about this. Most of us believe that if we could just know why they disappeared, we could fix it, or we could figure it out, or we could have some type of closure. Not necessarily. By the way, think about it. Sometimes when people actually do get to the point of diving in, it's vague, it's dishonest, it's exhausting. It's not what you thought it was going to be as far as an answer. True closure comes from within. It's from you accepting it's 𝗪𝗺 and it was meant to be this way. Your own healing process and the way that you choose to frame what happened is what really matters. If you're struggling with that, again, more than happy to talk to me. We have free calls. Okay, lastly, let's talk about some healthy recovery strategies. For indeed, إِنَّمَا الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, within hardship, not after, within hardship, there's ease. Right now, I'm sure you're struggling with a lot, but guess what? There's some good going on in there that you are not acknowledging, because what you focus on, you will feel. You are focusing on the negative, the things that hurt you, the things that feel yucky right now. Focus on what also is amazing in your life right now. There's a lot. Look harder. So how can we move forward when we've been ghosted? Here are some evidence-based strategies I definitely suggest. First of all, allow yourself to feel the feelings, the hurt, the anger, the pain. You have a right. Denying these feelings only prolongs the healing process. Number 2, practice self-compassion. Speak to yourself as you would a good friend. Sometimes we're way nicer to other people than we are to ourselves. Extend some kindness to yourself. Number 3, reconnect with your values outside of romantic relationships or guys you're trying to marry. Spend time with people who actually appreciate you, people who actually see your value, and you will feel full again and not like somebody who's just been chucked to the side. And finally, reflect on a relationship honestly. There is something to learn out of every situation. Look for the lesson. Instead of asking, why did this happen? Say, what am I supposed to see? What is Allah trying to show me? And remember, being ghosted does not in any way define your worth or how lovable you are. Don't allow yourself to fall into that trap. It's one person's choice that shows only their limitations, not yours. All right, if you have been enjoying the tips in this podcast, I would love to talk to you. You can definitely book a free call, inshallah ta'ala, or again, if the course has not closed, can't promise it based on when you're listening to this, you can go down below, there's a link, and get all of our tips to fast track getting married in 2025, our most popular course yet. Love you all for the sake of Allah. We'll talk to you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.